kind of see how you're doing and if there's any mental health issues. And I'm Angela, and I work with Dr. Dickens, who's a psychologist. I'm the one that does ask you to do some things on the computer and have you answer some questions about yourself and those kind of things. And then Dr. Dickens will do an interview. He's the one that interprets the data and puts it in an evaluation. Okay. The first part is on the computer. How old are you?
35.
How much education, including college and technical school?
I graduated from Chattahoochee Tech.
How many years?
2.
Okay. Now I'm going to read the instructions. It's going to say test, but it's not graded like a test. It's just to kind of see where you are. If you don't know an answer, I strongly suggest you don't randomly guess. Just skip it. If you have an educated guess, which you think you might know, then go ahead and guess. But if it's random, just skip it if you don't know it, okay? You'll be taking 3 brief tests today. Please try as hard as you can on each one. And pay attention to when I tell you to begin. When I tell you to start, read the instructions carefully, then start working on the test. The first task is about word meaning. You're going to read the instructions, follow the example. When you get to the bottom of the page, it'll be number 40. Let me know and I'll turn the page, okay?
So, what does word meaning have anything to do with my mental capability psychologically or my...
It's your IQ.
IQ doesn't have anything to do with your psychological. That's book smart. Anybody can learn that. It has nothing to do with your mentality.
Well, it does have the capability of understanding problem solving and understanding those kind of things. Sure does. And that's part of the psychological evaluation, the IQ, the personality testing, the kind of just kind of give you an overall picture of that
My
person.
great-grandmother couldn't even write her own name, but she raised, an entire family and made a living and did a lot more than most people these days with an education do. So I don't see how that really equates to problem solving at all.
Okay, well, this is part of it. If you don't want to do this, then you don't have to.
It doesn't have anything to do with how good of a parent you are.
Well, it's just to kind of give you a picture of what kind of person, how much you know and what your personality is like and stuff. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. You can refuse to do it and just...
It just has nothing to do with parenting, period.
Okay.
It really doesn't.
Are you going to do this or not?
I mean, I've been given no choice.
Okay.
I've been given no choice, but whether I know what large or big or red or silent means has nothing to do with my ability as a parent.
Okay. It's whatever you decide. You can do it or not, or whatever you want to do.
I just think it's redundant. I just think there's poor people out there that may not know that you're basing their ability to raise a family or to be a good parent on their book comprehension.
It's not based on that. It's just to see.
If they don't know how to read, they definitely don't know how to answer these questions.
If they don't know how to read, then we would do something else.
It's just ridiculous. Because many people...
Do you want to do it or you don't want to do it? Because you're like an hour and a half late.
I had a doctor's appointment.
And it's going to take 3 to 4 hours to complete. So if you want to do it, you can do it. Or you don't want to do it, that's fine too. You can decide not to.
I mean, I have no choice. It's not that I've been...
Okay.
I have to do it.
Sure.
But I think it's ridiculous because this is unconstitutional. Very unconstitutional.
Okay. Hang on just a second.
And this right here is what they're determining my psychological on. No, that's crazy.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine, how are you?
Good. I'm Dr. Dickens. I'm the one that works with Angela. She said you had some problems or questions about the.
I think that, what you're using that is IQ. That's not psychological. And that has nothing to do with how someone raises their family. Whether they know the meaning of a word or synonyms or anything like that. That's redundant.
Well, okay. So you don't have questions about the consent itself of doing the evaluation. You're not questioning the whole evaluation as far as how it. You remember that form you filled out?
Yeah.
Is it right there?
Yeah.
It's right here.
You don't have questions about that, first of all, or did you? I'm just trying to.
I feel like anything that's done on me, regardless, should be released to me. Period.
Well.
That's my right as
Actually.
As an individual.
Well, okay. There's different pieces of that. First of all, when a court orders something, when a judge orders something, it belongs to the court. Under HIPAA, you understand what HIPAA is, right? Mm-hmm. Your patient rights. That's true. So if you went to, just went to the physician down the street and you said, hey, I'm going to have a physical or whatever, that doctor, if you want those records, that doctor has to release all that information to you. In a court case, when a judge orders an evaluation, it belongs to the court. Whether the court releases it to the person, it's up to the judge. Now, standard DFACS policy is they usually do not release the report. They'll go over it with you. So they'll say, these are the recommendations, these are the findings, or what have you, and they'll talk to you about it. They won't hand you a copy of it. You can go to court and you can say, hey,
Why is that not a conflict of interest, though? You know what I mean?
A conflict of interest?
Yeah.
How do you mean? I don't understand what you're asking. A conflict of interest between who?
Because it's against me and DFACS. So
well, when you say against, you're saying it sounds like they're trying to win something over you. Is that what you're thinking?
I've seen it. It's not trying. They are. I went to court. I know that my order matches nothing that the judge said.
Do you have a lawyer?
I do.
Who's your lawyer?
Zach Pritchard.
Okay. Here's what, if I was...
He feels exactly the same way I do. Trust me, this is the most bogus, ridiculous, shouldn't even be happening case that has ever existed.
Well, here's the issue. First of all, let me tell you who I am. I'm a psychologist. I'm a forensic psychologist that evaluates people for DFACS. Mm-hmm. I'm not an employee of DFACS. I don't work for DFACS, okay? So I'm
contracted through DFACS.
Contracted through the state to do evaluations for state agencies. So that being said, my job is to provide an objective opinion about you to the court, about your psychological status and functioning, okay? So what I tell people is this consent, the reason we have it laid out the way it is, so you understand exactly what's going on. Meaning also that A, you won't get the results. B, everything you say to me goes in it. There's no confidentiality between you and I like there normally is with a psychologist. Because in the state of Georgia, when you talk to a psychologist, it's protected by law.
And see, that is, in my opinion, unconstitutional. Because you're being forced to consent to something you may not consent to. And if you don't, then it directly affects your children. Well, that's wrong.
And all I can speak to is, here's what I do is if somebody has, like you do today, concerns about the consent, which you have concerns about the basic consent. I have
concerns about this whole case.
Then what I say to you is you need to consult with your attorney. Because see, I'm not a lawyer, and I can't give you any legal advice and say to you, well, it'll be okay, or because it might not be. I don't know. So what I would say to you is that I can tell...
whether I know synonyms or not,
that's a whole
has nothing to do with my ability to raise my children.
Well, hang on to that. I'll come back to that. But for right this moment, the consent's the most important issue because you're not consenting. You are not fully consenting to this evaluation. Therefore, I think you need to talk to your lawyer before you do it. Because it's between you and your lawyer. Because if you don't do it, then you and your lawyer have to talk to the judge about why you didn't want to do it and why you think it's unconstitutional, because the judge ordered it. So like if the judge ordered me to jump off the bridge...
The judge didn't order a lot of stuff that I've had to do. The judge clearly flat out said, no, this is not an issue. And then DFACS, it don't matter what the order says, because DFACS went into the room, typed up the order, which is a conflict of interest, and put in there whatever they wanted to.
Well, all I do is go along with an order. So if I have an order that says,
And I have the senator looking into that because, first of all, why was it even court recorded if you don't keep transcripts? That's unconstitutional in my opinion. That's a waste of time and money as well.
right,
Which is one thing I feel needs to be changed, and laws need to be implemented in that because, you know, as it stands, DFACS has to answer to no one. No one. They can do whatever they want to, destroy families, destroy lives. I mean, rip your whole life apart and have to answer to no one for their negligence. They are negligent. They've been negligent. I have documented proof that this is an issue that should have never happened. My rights have been violated over and over and over again. I mean, there's even people that have quit their job over my case that were with DFACS because this is so bogus. And it's very, I mean, they are very liable, and a lot has happened. And
well, I see here that you're ordered to have a substance abuse assessment, but I don't see an order for a psychological.
I'm telling you, they put whatever they wanted to in there.
Unless I haven't
And
seen
I
it.
passed my substance abuse evaluation. Even the judge said, there is no drug problem. And I'm not going to say that there is.
I'm just looking.
I mean, all of this is bogus, I'm telling you. And instead of focusing on the ones that they need to focus on, they're grasping at straws and trying to make stuff exist that doesn't exist with me. My daughter does have a mental health problem. She's severely mentally unstable. And this right here made her even more so. They put them in endangered environments. My daughter says she got raped in placement. My son is still in the placement. They knew it was an endangered environment beforehand. And I begged them, and my rights are being violated.
Well, I do see. Okay, so I did find the order. The judge did order you to have an eval. So here's what happens in this case.
You mean DFACS wrote in the order?
Well, all I have.
I was there. I know what happened.
Okay, but I have a written. But I don't know all that. All I have is a written order.
I was there.
So what I'm saying is, and what I would do at this point is I would write a letter to DFACS myself and say, you know, we went over consent with her. She had concerns about the consent. She did not feel like she could freely consent to it, and therefore I told her to consult with her attorney before we did this, because then that's between you and your attorney and the judge. Okay, does that make sense? Now the part about the IQ test, IQ does have a lot to do with psychological functioning for one specific reason. If DFACS is asking a parent to do parenting, which they often do.
I've already done.
Oh, okay. Well, it is important for us to know where they are intellectually, so we know that they're appropriate for it. Some people are low
I've
functioning.
already done it. So
well,
it
but I mean,
doesn't
it's
matter.
it's a standard battery for us. We always use it. We've got to know where a person is. Also, we're asking you to read things and to comprehend things in a personality test that we need to know that you can understand. So we give that test to give us an idea where you are. If it wouldn't be fair to you to give you something that you would have. Let's say you were a low functioning person, which obviously you're not. You couldn't understand what you were reading, and therefore the results might not be valid. That is wrong, and we need to be absolutely sure that what we're giving you is appropriate. So that's why we do
And
it.
that's really my stance is like,
But it doesn't have anything to do with whether you get your kids back. That's not it at all. It just tells us where you are, and then we know that what we're giving is appropriate. That's it. Because for some people, they're so low functioning, we can't give them anything. They have to read. We have to read stuff to them. We have to explain stuff to them. And if we recommend some sort of parenting, then we need to say to them, look, you can do it, but this person may not understand the normal techniques or the normal things you try to teach them, or they may not be able to demonstrate them. So I just think you need to consult with your attorney, because you can't freely consent to this.
I don't really consent to anything that's been done. I mean,
And that's between you
when
and
I
the judge.
sit here and I watch my children not even thrive, I mean, barely existing from the time I was removed until now. I mean, my daughter hadn't even been in school. I would be in jail. I would be behind bars. You know, truancy between my son and my daughter. And that doesn't include everything else that is going on that is unconstitutional to the 100th degree. And I don't feel comfortable. No, I don't trust them. I'll tell you why. Because the reason they felt I'm crazy is because I called the FBI and made a legitimate report and complaint before my daughter got raped, before any of this happened, because I wanted someone watching my children. And I was really afraid for them, and I still am.
Right.
And they put me on the stand in front of the person accused and forced me to answer whether or not I called the FBI on.
Who's the judge in your case? Avery?
It's on
I
there.
can't read the name.
I
I
can't
don't know if
either.
it's Avery. Is it a woman or a man?
Man.
Oh, it's the new guy.
And all of them,
I can't even think of his
defects
name.
and the judge, ordered me. And then I go back to my attorney and I'm like, he's like, well, you know, your Fifth Amendment right isn't applicable in a preliminary protective hearing. And I'm like, my constitutional right is always applicable, no matter where I'm at or what I'm doing, because it's the Constitution. It's not varied upon the situation. It is always admissible. And that right there deterred me. Like, you know, I feel like I'm having to fight my own legal aspect, you know, and it's ridiculous. I mean, and I've been sitting here, please help my daughter, please help her, you know, and I lost my kids because my daughter has mental health issues and I called for help one too many times. And I'm being punished for it. And I did better with my kids with no resources than defects can do with all the resources in the world.
Yeah. Well, so what you need to do is work this out with your attorney about the fact that there's this order and you don't feel comfortable with complying with it, and then let him
I
guide
don't feel
you.
comfortable complying with anything where they don't give me a copy of it.
I understand that.
I mean, I was the same way about my drug test. I went and got my own.
I understand that. I don't work for defects. I don't make the rules. I just go along with them. So, but I don't feel comfortable if somebody is not comfortable with the consent. I won't. It's not. I can't make you do anything. It's totally up to you.
I mean, and I feel anything I do, I should have a copy of it. Period. If this is determining my children, I should have a copy of it.
I understand that. But under a court order, a judge owns it all. The judge decides everything. It'd be just like, it'd be any of us. Me, you, judge orders us to do something, we have to do it. They want us to go to court, we have to go
They'll
to
give
court.
you a copy of it, though. Or your attorney. You know, you're not...
No, your attorney will get a copy of it.
Okay, that's what I asked.
No, you asked me if you'd get a copy of it, or I misunderstood you.
Yeah.
You won't get a copy, but your attorney certainly will. And your attorney has the right to then subpoena me to go to court and testify about it.
Okay.
So let's say your attorney doesn't like something that's in it, or you don't like something that's in it, or whatever. He can sure subpoena me. So can DFACS's attorney. Usually I don't have anything else to do with it unless somebody subpoenas me to come testify about it.
Okay.
But I still think because you have doubts, you should talk to your attorney.
I doubt everything with defects. I'm
Right,
sorry, but...
and then you can come back.
I mean,
and after
they-
you work
they
it out,
know
then we can reschedule it. It's not a big deal. I just think that I always tell people the same thing. If you've got doubts about this and you have questions about this consent,
I doubt everything. I mean, my
I hear
children
that.
are in very bad, dangerous situations, and all they're focused on is me and trying to find something that doesn't exist. Why don't you provide some services? There's none being provided. Really, there's not. I didn't need parenting classes. It's not what I needed. You know, that's really not what I needed. And why don't you meet people where they are instead of creating things that don't exist? And trying to, we provided this or that. You wasted money. You didn't really help anything.
Well, I can't explain the system. I don't know.
It needs to be changed. That I know.
Well, talk to your attorney. Who's your caseworker?
I'm not even sure now.
Who?
It was Todd, but he said it's getting changed. So I don't know.
Is Shannon over
Yes,
them?
he said something about Shannon.
She's supervisor.
Might be Shannon.
Well, I'll let her know your concerns, and I'll write a letter to the department because they're going to want me to do that anyway. And then you can consult with your attorney. And then if you feel after consulting with him that you're comfortable going forward, we can reschedule. Make sense?
I mean, my attorney did say that he trusted you. You know, I mean, my issue is I just don't trust defects, and I have every reason not to. Every reason not to. You know, and I know that they're not doing what's in the best interest of my children.
Yeah.
None of this is. And it's just to create stuff that doesn't exist and to prolong it as long as possible because they're getting that federal check.
Well, after you talk to him, talk to Shannon or Todd about what you're going to do, or maybe when do you go back to court?
23rd.
Of February. Then you can go before the judge and say, look, here's my concerns, and then let the judge. You all work it out with the judge. The judge may say, okay, I'm going to rescind the order, or the judge may say, I don't care what you think, you're going to do it anyway. I have no idea.
I mean, I don't mind doing it. It's just the fact of how it's being done. You know what I mean? Like,
How it's being done. What do you mean?
well, like even with the drug tests. You know, I had no problem with the drug test, but I have a problem when it's someone who is, to their best interest or whatever. I want to go where I feel is completely objective, is completely, not biased, not contracted through anyone. You know what I mean? Someone that is, and I have just as much right to my information as they do.
Well, and the court may allow you to do that. That's what you go back and talk to your lawyer and the judge about. Like you may say, look, I want my own person that I find on my own.
And they're like, oh, well, you can do it and pay for it. Well, no. Because I didn't bring all this on me. I shouldn't be going through this.
But anybody, but just so you know, anybody that defects pays or that the state pays has to have a contract with them. The state won't pay anybody who doesn't have a contract with them. That's how the state works. They'll be like, if they were going to put a roof on the building, it'd have to be somebody that's contracted through the state. That's the way the state does everything. Believe me, I hate it too.
What I don't get is like, why is no other psychiatrist evaluation good enough?
Oh, I don't know that it wouldn't be. It's just they're going to use who's contracted because that's how they pay for things. So there's other psychologists contracted besides me.
Well, I mean, like if you look in there, it specifically lists Highland Rivers.
For the drug test, they have other providers that do drug tests.
Well, I mean,
drug evaluations.
Well, I mean, it specifically lists Highland Rivers in there. But then once I go and use them, it wasn't good enough. Or then they want to change it. I mean, it's always, every time I go, it's someone different.
Yeah, I don't know I can't tell you about that. But everything that I would do is open to complete scrutiny from you, your lawyer, defects, everybody.
Okay.
Talk to them, let the judge know, maybe they'll let you do it somewhere else or with someone else that you hire on your own or that you find on your own, But if if it comes down to where they say, well, no, you got to do it, then you decide, yeah, I'm going to do it, then just.
I mean, I'm just going to do it because I'm not trying to be unruly. And I want to have as much time when I go to court so I can say, look, this was ridiculous. I mean, because this is very ridiculous.
Yeah.
The whole case is ridiculous.
Okay.
It destroyed my family. And now they're like, oh, can we just pretend like this didn't happen? You can't unrape my daughter. You can't do that. You can't untraumatize my children. You can't get back the time I've lost. You can't pretend this didn't happen. Because it did. And if it happened to me, I can only imagine how many others it's happening to as well. And something has to be done.
All right. Well, I'll write a note to DFACS and let them know what our conversation was and what you're going to do.
So you will release it to my attorney, though?
Yeah. Well, the court
Okay.
releases it to your attorney. They have to as part of discovery.
Okay, well, that's what I
In
was
the course,
concerned about.
in the case.
Okay. Okay, then I'll do it. As long as it's released.
Well, now I don't want to do it.
Okay.
Because I'm saying no because your consent is not. You still have reservations, and
I
therefore.
will always have reservations.
Well,
no
but
matter
at
what.
this point, I want you to consult with your attorney before I'll do it. I'll take blame. I mean, I don't feel comfortable.
I'll be honest, I don't feel comfortable doing anything
Right,
with them either.
right.
I told them up front.
Right.
I mean, they know.
Right.
I do not feel comfortable with any of this.
So talk with your lawyer, talk with the judge when you go to court, and then if it washes out that, this is what is, and you agree collectively that hey, this is, even though I don't like it, this is what the judge said. I've tried all my other options, and they're saying no. Then we'll move forward. Okay.
Okay.